Howdy folks, I'm Rebecca Jolly, the Jolly Alchemist. Today doing a Jolly forecast for the upcoming new week or segment that is ahead of us. So we are sitting here on the precipice between looking at 9 and 16 in the sun position and moving into 5 and 35 in the sun position. So I'm going to show you the words, then we'll do the talking. So I'm going to switch the camera here. All right, so let's see. All right, this is the old stuff here, and this is the new. There. This is the cross of consciousness. And then we're looking at habits and separation. And then looking at gate 5, all of its little things. And then 35. Yep, that one's on. Okay. So, now we can actually do the talking bit. There we go. Okay. Cool. So, what we're doing first is looking back into 9 and 16 and what that was like, what that felt, if I had any experiences there. We're looking at identification. And that's interesting to me in some ways because I made a person who has the cross of identification. It's the other one. But still, this subject of identification is an interesting one to me. And I still feel like there's not, like I don't have 100% of an understanding of it. I get it on a surface level, I feel like. And what's going on with the cross of identification is that, okay, well, we can look at what those gates are first. So we're looking at 9, and we're looking at 16, and then we're looking at, I think it's 63 and 64. Yeah, it is. So identification has to do with something in the mix of 5, which is waiting and being orderly and being in the flow, having rituals that can't really be, they can, but if you know what's good for you, you're going to keep your rituals. You're going to keep your order. You're going to keep, your schedule, the things that are right for you. And then 35, we have the gate. Okay, so 5, that orderly gate, that's here, coming out of the sacral center, going towards the G center, and looking towards the gate 15, which is the gate of the love of all humanity. Then we have 35, which is coming off the throat, and this is the experience gate. So this is the one that really is where all of the emotional experiences are happening and then being talked about. So emotional experience begins with some sort of a crisis. Out of the 36th gate, you come into it innocently. You're like, oh, and then you have an experience. And then when it's done, you can look back at it and speak from the throat about what happened in that emotional experience. And then 63 and 64. 64 is the awareness of confusion. So there's a lot of, pictures happening out of order, not really understanding what's going on there. It's confusing. And then 63 is skepticism. So you have doubts about what it is that's coming in, and you're needing to run some tests on that, which happens in the fourth gate. So this is how the energy is happening. Now, this is an interesting thing that Ross said about this here. He said that as we learn our designs, those changes in our body are actually taking place in the fifth gate. So, in the fifth gate is where that is physically happening inside of us as we become part of the pattern. Very interesting. So then he says, of course, the joke is you figure out that it's me watching myself in the pattern, being the pattern, part of the pattern, watching itself. Okay, that's something to understand. It's not exactly a clue to what's going on in identification. Now, what I understand from looking at my daughter's design in identification is that, all right, we're looking really at what is happening in what am I thinking? Yeah, 535. Oh, okay, I've got things confused here. Yeah, I was like, what a second, what are we doing with identification? Identification is before that. And that is the left angle of before that. Oh, okay. So here I am. I was getting confused. All right, so that all that stuff that I just had is what we're doing looking ahead. That's cross of consciousness and moving forward. But right now I really want to talk about behind, which is identification, and also cross of planning. So we have the right angle being the cross of planning, the juxtaposition is focus, and then the left angle is identification. So cross of planning, I've talked about that a couple of times now, and we're really basically just talking about the old energy that is getting ready to phase out in the planet. Now, that does not mean it's phasing out of all the people. The people will still be carrying cross of planning. Like here, the people who were born in this time, which was, let me look in my journal here. So just recently, that would have been people who were born on the 28th, 29th, this is November 30th, and into the 1st of December would have been born with this cross of planning. And that is going to be carried forward for them in their entire lives. And that cross of planning is focus. Gate 9, here coming out of the sacral center, and it's 16, which is looking at the gate of skills and mastery through repetition. And then on the other side of that, I believe it's this 4037 from the willpower or ego center into the solar plexus, and it's this channel of community, of the marriage deal, the bargain, I'll bring in the bacon, you make sure the babies get fed, family businesses, mom and pops, governments, schools, streets, grocery stores, all the community things that we have been building as a global society have been based on this energy. So the global part of it is ending, but that doesn't mean that all of these structures are going to be ending completely, because that energy is still going to be carried by people who were born, like I said, just in this last time. And of course, this energy comes around 4 times a year. So there are a lot of people still going to be born with it, and they will be the people who will be carrying this energy forward. It will not be the underlying current of the whole entire planet anymore. So these people are going to become more rare. They're going to become more precious, rather than that being them being the controlling and dominant energy on the planet. The dominant energy on the planet is going to switch to 34 and 20. So this is busyness in the now. And of course, emotional abundance and intimacy. So these are going to be the energies that are really driving the planet forward after 2027. So very interesting, but we've still gone through this time. Now, uh, that's where the cross of identification comes in, because that 9 and the 16 are still happening uh, through the juxtaposition cross, which is the juxtaposition cross of focus, having to do with that ninth gate there. And into the left angle of identification. Okay, now we can talk about the left angle of identification, which is what my daughter is carrying, but she's carrying the other version. So in her case, it's the 16 that's the top activation for her, which maybe you can see over here on the chart. I don't know, but it's the 16 and then the 9. Yep, there it is. So in that case, and they are related, they're just, it's all the same numbers, just in a slightly different order. It's about being able to identify with causes and help others identify with causes so that they can know where their resources are best allocated. So my daughter is a musician, and she's got a lot of talents and skills, and of course this is reflected in her carrying this 16th gate activation. But she is a person who is tending not to take her skills seriously. Of course, she has the 5th line of that activation, which means she's a little bit of a spoil sport. She's a little bit like, I don't know. And when I found that out, I was just like, oh, that's totally Bella. I've been telling her whole life how incredibly talented she is, how skilled she is, and her attitude has always been, I don't know. I don't know if I have the skills. I don't really know. And so that spoil sport coming out, that I'm not sure. Well, when she actually does identify with something, she will be ready to direct other people's attention towards that thing with which she has identified as well. So right now she's identified with sign language, and she's so deeply into it. And so she's identifying with it. She's helping other people identify with it. And that's what her job is, to send other people in that direction so that they can get the resources to support and fund this thing with which she has identified. Because as we've talked about, hopefully over and over if you've been listening, the logical system that's happening over on this side of the body is always starved for energy. The only energy that's coming is coming all the way from the root, which is a long, long way away from the throat, where that energy can get out. And so it's these people who help identify with those things that they say need money. Well, they're the ones who are helping to get that energy into the system so that the logics of the thing can be worked out, and these future patterns to support humanity going forward can be supported and get their energy so that people can do the fun things in this channel over here. So, by way of contrast, the next section going forward, we are looking at 35. Well, first 5, because the grouping is about gate 5. That's waiting. That's being in the flow. That's this one I was just talking about. And then 35 and 64 and 63. So that's what's coming for us in the next week. And because I have a 5th gate activation, and this is where I'm really like, this is one of my most unbalanced places in my own personal chart. It seems like when I look at charts and really get into studying the depths of them, that's kind of what happens. We have just, like 1 or 2 places, and usually they're in bridges. But when you're looking at somebody who has a single definition like me, then it's not going to be in bridges, because I don't have bridges. All my electricity runs in one solid line together. So then you have to find out, okay, well, pretty much everybody's got a couple of places where things are the most wonky, and you have to locate those places. So for me, those places were right off the bat the 19th gate. And that is having to do with the needs of the community. And then the other big one for me was in this 5th gate, because I was really identified with the 15 on the other side and not recognizing that the 5 was where I belonged. So in my dedication to focusing on the 5, I have found I'm coming more and more into alignment with who I am. I'm feeling more and more comfortable with who I am, and so things are starting to come together for me. And so I've been very much a student of the 5th gate. So, the stuff in the Lion Companion, I've read it over and over again, trying to squeeze any additional meaning and information that I can find out of it. And Ra talks a lot about maintaining our rhythms, finding our flow. And this is sort of how I found that new definition of being in the flow or being in alignment, and that is to make our internal body systems fit and align with the systems and the flow of the outside world. And when you do that, you find that you put your body in the right place at the right time, this 46th gate, and you can be in a position to be lucky, to find the exact things that are for you to find. Now, those things are not always guaranteed to be cheerful, wonderful things, but they are your things. So even if it's a bad thing, it's going to be okay because that's your thing. The interesting thing that I've been seeing in being in this sort of in-between place, not that any particularly special events or happenings have gone on with me, but being in the middle of these two, it's given me an opportunity to see really and study the mirrored relationship between gate 16 and gate 35. Now, Ross said a bunch of times there's mirrors all over, and he didn't actually explain a lot of those mirrors. So then it's left to us individually to figure out what some of those are. But he did talk a bit about the 16 and about the 35 and how they're working. So I can talk about that some. And what's going on here is that we have 16 as the gate of skills. But everything that's going on this logical side is about repetition. Over and over again. It's about something that you repeat ad nauseum. And in that repetition, you get mastery. This is the channel of mastery. So it's about repeating skills with the depth to obtain mastery of what's going on there in the pattern, looking forward to the future. Over here on the other side, it's the opposite. So you're looking at things where it's very past centered because you have the experience and then you look at it, then you examine it. Well, the other interesting thing is 35 is the gate of having an experience once, not having an experience over and over again. Roz, of course, always using this example of having sex in a canoe. Very cute, very funny. He says, yeah, you only need to have sex in a canoe once. Then you know what it's like. You're done with it. If you go back and you try to have sex in a canoe again, you might just drown. I don't know. I'm an experimenter. I would be the kind to go back and have sex in a canoe twice. But thankfully, that opportunity has not been presented to me. Oh, goodness. But in general, he says that's the way that works. People who are about experience on the other side of the thing, going from crisis into experience and really talking about these emotional experiences that are happening here, looking backwards. This is about having an experience once, being able to say, been there, done that. Okay, We don't need to do that again. So these people here are collecting a ton of different kinds of experiences. That's why the 35 is called the jack of all trades, because once they've had an experience, they've had it. They don't need to repeat it, and then they're looking for another one. They're hungry for an experience. They're looking for something emotional to happen to them, and that crisis that's going to spur that experience on for them and make them wise by going like shallowly but very, very wide. Yeah. Whereas the track here on the 16 to the 48 is going narrowly but very, very deep. So I can see how they are experiences. They're different kinds of ways for humanity collectively. That's all of us, to gather experiences and gather wisdom and knowledge that can then be shared for everyone, because these are sharing for everyone experience gates, as opposed to, say, going down the middle line, which is all just for me individually, my experience. I can tell you about it, but you can't have my experience because only I can have my experience. Or we have another contrast with experiences that are tribal experiences, things that are all about bringing resources into our little group, our tribe, our small community, not for everyone all together. But these out here are really, we're talking about all of us together. We're talking about all of humanity and the experiences that we have coming to us, if we are able to align ourselves with the proper rhythms and be aware of confusion and doubt at the same time. So that's how we get the cross of, oh, no, wait a second. No, it's shifting, isn't it? Consciousness still keeps the 64 and the 63, and then, I don't actually have the switch written down here. So that's a good thing to look up real quick, but it's right here. And that switch goes to 47 and 22. All right, so when we hit the juxtaposition, we are switching from 64 and 63 with the 5 and the 35, switching to 47 and 22. So 47 is, let me see, 22 is moods, and 47 is making sense of confusion. So then when we move into habits and separation, it's really having this channel defined right here, this ability to seek sense and make sense of confusion, and to have this moodiness in the design. So what's going on with the 22 is these people need to be very, very attuned to their moods, because when they're in the proper mood for something, that's a good time for them to go out and communicate with people. Of course, this is this communication channel. So when we're looking at the manifesting channels that are coming here between the sacral center, solar plexus, not sacral, and the throat, we're looking at our adventuring manifestors, and that's where we have that 35, that gate of experience or adventure, jack of all trades. And then we're looking at the communicating manifestors, who are doing gate 12, cautious communication, leading to the moods. And the whole point of that is they really need to be talking about their emotions when they're in the mood. When they're not in the mood, they need to not be doing that. They need to stay home and focus on their own little things. Not little things, of course, but their own private things, their own things of one. That is, of course, an individual channel as opposed to a collective channel. And let's see, gate of habits. Yes, this is the juxtaposition around the 5th gate, and that's the whole entire thing. They are very ritualistic, those people, and they need to have their habits. They need to stay in them, and apparently it's quite difficult to take them out of their habits, according to Raw. I haven't met one of them yet. I'm really excited to meet one of them. When I do, I'll be wanting to hear their stories and learn all about them. And then, of course, when it moves into the left angle of separation, what they're doing is they're separating those patterns. So it's about those patterns being individualistic and being able to say, okay, you've got a pattern, but I don't like it. I need to switch and do my pattern. And that's good for helping the world shift to a different kind of a different kind of pattern that might be good for people. We don't know, but these are how we learn and grow about patterns and things that are happening to us. So, there was something else I wanted to talk about, and that was we have a couple of global shifts happening during this time that I really wanted to mention because that's kind of important. And what's happening is we have a switch in Pluto. So, Pluto is our generational energy. And that's, of course, the very last and bottom activation that we all have in our charts here. And it's really about where we fit into the generations, and these long, slow cycles that are happening. So it's not a lot of power coming in, but when it shifts, oh, okay, we got a really new kind of energy coming in. And of course, we've been playing with this 41st gate in Pluto for a while, and we still will be, because that 41 is what's going to be happening when we move into 2027. So the whole new cycle is going to be starting with this initiating codon here starting out. So this is the gate of fantasy or longing or lust or desire. It's just this primal desire for a new beginning, for a new emotional experience. Yeah. And then, of course, the 30 on the other side is this wanting that experience to happen, but not knowing if it will happen. So it's, the fates, I'm going out there. Am I going to be crushed like a bug or not? So that's where the energy is going. And the definition of that is in line 1, reasonableness. To release feelings selectively, staying focused. So that's the new energy that's coming in Pluto. And yes, we also have a shift happening in the nodes. So let's see when that will be happening. It looks like it's actually happening on the 8th, Monday, the 8th of December. And we'll switch from 63 and 64, line 3, into line 2. So I think what's happening here is that the retrograde on the nodes has been happening long enough that it's actually starting to speed up in retrograde, right? So what happens when we have a retrograde shift is the normal speed and flow of a planet or of an activation will start to slowly slow down. So then when it moves in retrograde, we've got this sort of molasses going as it goes backward, and it'll stay slow here, slow, but then once it's going retrograde long enough, it speeds up going in retrograde, and then for it to go back towards its usual regular motion, it will have to slow down again and turn around, and then it'll be able to speed up and go off that way. So I think the reason the nodes are shifting fast here is because they've been in retrograde so long that they're actually speeding up going backwards. So it's moved to 63 and 64, line 2. 63, line 2 is structuring through systematic verification. Now, 63 is our gate of skepticism and doubt. So we're looking at what's happening naturally there. And so we will all be looking at the world through this, trying to systematically verify what's going on, this structuring or restructuring of the thought process and of our doubts and skepticisms. And then 64, line 2 is qualification to recognize relevant experiences. This is the gate of confusion. So in the second line of the gate, we have this natural ability to look at all the things that are confusing and go, okay, well, that one seems important, that one seems important, that one seems important. So with both of these working together, we're starting to have this focus globally of, all right, let's figure out what's important, and then let's figure out how to verify it and get it structurally stabilized so that we can have an understanding of what's going on our planet right now. It's a great energy to be having because this energy is giving us the power to look at things and make sense of them, to be skeptical about bullshit that's going on. Boy, we could use some of that. And to be able to see through those things so that we can actually have the energy of, all right, let's not just take these things for granted. Let's not just discount them. Let's get some verification on that. So I think that's good energy coming in. Let's see. Was there anything else that was happening in that that thing? Let's see. We're going through obsessiveness, insatiable appetite for progress. That's not bad. And into altruism, selfless sacrifice for the benefit of common progress. That's cool. We've got a couple of things happening with Gate 14. Gate 14 is our money bags, our resources, our wagon full of things. We've talked about that recently as the transits pass through Gate 14 in the Sun and Earth activations. I believe it was the Sun it was going through. And and how that's about an endowment, a gift, an inheritance that we carry, and looking for a key in that second gate for, okay, we have resources, we have things happening, where can they go? Where do they need to be allotted to? So it's always kind of nice when we see that 14 coming into the transits, because that means that the money and the resources, the energy is able to flow a little bit more freely for us. So the connections that we're experiencing here as we're going through this time ahead are going to be on Wednesday. So that'll be right around the time this is released. The Explainer, 4323. That's the one I've got here in blue. And of course, the 3536 we're going to be feeling through this whole entire time. That's progress based on going through and mastering emotional experiences. And then we're still going to have a little bit of this 2034 left over. So a little bit of 3420 left over again on the second, because the moon is going through the 20. And then we have the 34 in Venus. We're going to get a little bit of the 5 connecting with the 15 through the moon. So that is the assimilator, living life in the flow, one's patterns and rhythms merging with those of the environment. That's that's where I got that definition. That's a nice one. And we're getting some 952. So this is this focus coming together with the 52, the mountain stillness, the ability to sit and concentrate. So we have the concentrator, stable and determined energy that arises from the quietude to focus on the details. So that's nice. On the 7th, we'll get a little bit of the storyteller, the 1156. Up here, this is the voice speaking from the throat of I believe, the interested and stimulating exchange of ideas and stories one has experienced. So these are the channels that we're going to see being activated as we come through these next 6 days or so. And through the left angle cross of separation. So that's what's going on. I don't have a whole lot of specialness going on there. I'm really in this sort of phase personally that's just kind of almost, it feels like a cocooning, like really sitting with my own energy and feeling my own energy and not really looking outward very much, not having too much to do with outward forces. I have a few appointments this week, but other than that, it's a very still, quiet kind of thing. I have my ravens appearing in the middle of the night some, but other than that, it's not happening. And of course, when I was at the fair this last weekend, one of the psychics who was giving me readings said I need to start journaling my ravens. So I made a new journal, and now I am able to track exactly when these people show up, what they're looking for, what I can give them, how their energy is, and how I can help, hopefully in a useful way, these people who are showing so very clearly the needs of the community, and maybe hopefully doing that in a useful way and a balanced way rather than the way it has been done in the past, which was definitely unbalanced. This inviting them in and giving them access to everything that I am and everything that I have, they weren't really taking they weren't really taking that seriously. They weren't appreciating that, but hopefully this new thing they will be able to do. In my opinion, it's a game. It's all a game. Life is a game. And so really anytime I'm getting together with someone at all, my question is, are we playing your game or are we playing my game? I can do both. I don't really care. It's all a game. Are we talking about you or are we talking about me? Meh. And when my ravens come to me and say, "Oh, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?" Or "I heard you can do this," or "I just want to sit and talk for a while," then it's very much, let's not integrate you into my game. Let's give some time to focus on you. What's your game? What are you working with? What are you needing? And really, my motivation is needs. So I'm very much focused on, okay, what do you need? Can I help you get what you need so that you can go out and do whatever it is that you're doing out there in the world in a way that's better for you? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. For me, so much of everything is a big experiment. But I am hoping that sometime here in the next week or a few weeks, I will be going to visit someone that I had a wonderful connection with at the fairs, someone who is fully defined. So these people are very rare. I don't know exactly how rare, but very, very rare. Even more rare than our reflectors that have zero definition at all. These people who have definition in every single center. And then it's just a matter of the connections between the centers being a little disjointed, and they have all a very different kind of energy and flow, and I'm very curious to find out about it. So I did find somebody, but we'll have to see if he's willing to let me visit him and study him and find out, what does it look like? What does it feel like to have energy running in every single center? From what I know just intellectually, they are people that come into the world with a lot of wisdom because they have energy in all of those centers. But they're not necessarily open to gaining a whole bunch more wisdom, is I think how it's going. Whereas when you have somebody who's a reflector or an observer, they're coming into the world kind of without internal wisdom, very confused. They're feeling so much of everything that everybody else is, but then they have the ability to gain a ton of wisdom over the course of their lives, depending on their environment and what they're surrounded by. So really, litmus paper. Whereas our fully defined people, they're coming in with a lot of wisdom, but then they tend to be kind of stubborn and not that easy to shift and move. They are both, at both ends of the spectrum, though, people that are needing a lot of people around them to help them connect and calibrate properly. So in the case of this person that I met this last 2 weeks ago now, it is he's a quad. So he has 4 separate areas of definition in his body, and that is a pretty rare kind of definition itself. So I'm super excited about it and looking forward to learning more, but I'll let you know when I learn more. Until then, we'll see. It might not happen for a while. It might not happen till next year. All good things in all good time. And I'm trying to be happy, staying in the flow, and studying my own 5th gate rhythm until that happens. So I hope you guys also have an opportunity to look at fifth gate activations, because we will all be feeling them here in the week ahead, and we will all be having that pull towards orderliness. So if you feel the need to be making your space more orderly, or gaining a new ritual, or looking at how you interact with the flow of things around, let me know. I'm interested to hear about that. If you are about having new emotional experiences, or if you're feeling extra skeptical or extra confused, let me know about that too. And we will join up back here together in about 6 days to discuss this energy and the energy that's coming forward. So that's it. Until next time, if you guys want to have something more specifically to do with me, come on over and see me at jollyalchemy.com. One of these days, I'm going to be putting out some more shorts explaining little things, but until then, well, we'll just see. Take care of you. I'll take care of me. Ciao.